The governor just snuck in, so we'll take our seats, please, and get going. He, as always, is on a limited time schedule. He's going to expand for the next hour and a half, I think.
We got bring any ice cream? Yeah, right.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good, how are you? Good, nice seeing you. Hi.
More Joe in
Hi,
there?
I'm Melissa.
Just water.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the City of Fargo Old Chambers. Soon we'll be in the Noom Chambers sometime. We're honored to have the Governor of the State of North Dakota here, Doug Burgum, talking about Main Street Initiative. We truly think Fargo is one of the shining examples of making a Main Street work, become vibrant, and continue to be part of our vibrant city. The other thing the Governor pointed out to me in Bloomberg, is copied on your sheet here, that Fargo is the #1 growing metro in the Midwest and the Northeast from the year 2010 to 2017. So thank you for all of you who have had a part of that. I see a lot of different people in the audience as well as people at this table. But we're very proud of that, and we're glad we've had this great growth. So Governor Burgum, I think you're good to go.
Mayor, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everyone who's around the table that are here in official positions or as business leaders from the private sector, the commissioners that are all here, the mayor. We've got some students that are here whose voice we're going to be sure to hear this morning. I want to thank everybody that's also in the audience. The Main Street Initiative is based on 3 pillars, and the first and most primary important pillar of Main Street is actually workforce. North Dakota has estimated over 30,000 positions open across the state. The county that has the most positions open is Cass County. The county that has the most advanced manufacturing jobs open is Cass County. The #1, when private sector has been surveyed by our statewide workforce survey, the #1 constraint on economic growth in North Dakota is workforce. And so we've got a tremendous shortage of workforce. If you are, and this extends across the whole state, if you're in the Northwest, and if any of you here are interested in education or healthcare, understand that our state receives a lot of revenue from the private sector and the economic activity in the private sector. One example of that is the oil and gas industry in North Dakota. We're closing in on a near record. Just under 1,000 wells have been drilled in North Dakota but have been that are uncompleted due to lack of workforce. That's like 1,000 businesses waiting to open, but they can't open because you can't find someone to work in the store. And so it's and that money flows directly into things like the Foundation Aid Stabilization Fund for K through 12. It flows into the Legacy Fund to help preserve our future. And so we're in a position where workforce, never before in our state's history has workforce been such a direct constraint on economic growth and on state revenues. And never before has it been so challenging for our country. Right now in the country, it's the first time in the history of the U.S. where there are more jobs available in the United States than there are workers to fill them. When we had North Dakota went from 1930 to 2005 as the only state in the nation who shrank in population. We were the only state that had a lower population in 2005 than 1930. We built up institutions, we built up approaches, and we built up a culture that was built on scarcity. We built attitudes that were built about we've got a fixed pie and we got to figure out how to divide up that fixed pie, and that pie might be shrinking. But we need to understand that in the last 10 years, that's completely changed in North Dakota. We're a position of abundance, and that abundance comes either from energy or from what we've learned that we can produce from the soil, or what we can develop through technology companies where we create value through the ideas that come from the team members, the workforce that's here. And so we have an opportunity to expand the pie in North Dakota, and we're in many ways, while we're constrained from a cash flow standpoint, in the general fund, our balance sheet grows stronger every day because of the money that's flowing into these endowment funds or trust funds like the Legacy Fund, the Foundation Aid Fund. And so we have a very bright future in North Dakota. We have an opportunity where we can get all the people in a room that need to make a decision, state, local, public, private, higher ed, K through 12, we've got all those represented here. We get everybody in the room and we can make decisions to move forward. So if we can kind of get out of our own way, we have an opportunity to really build something exceptional in North Dakota. So workforce, you'd say, okay, so if workforce has been for many people in economic development the last 30 years has been about jobs, jobs, jobs. We need to create jobs. A lot of economic development efforts were around, we need to get companies to move to North Dakota to create those jobs. When we've got 30,000 jobs open in our state, it's not about attracting new companies, it's about attracting and retaining a workforce. If you're trying to recruit a company to come to North Dakota, the first question they ask is, well, where's the workforce? Where am I going to get the people to work from? And whether you're in healthcare, which we'll hear from today, where we've got thousands of positions open across the state, that's holding us back. There's 330 teacher positions in North Dakota that are yet unfilled, even though we're a month into school or more. And so it's across the board where we've got shortages. And K through 12 and higher ed have to play a role in how we think about inventing and innovating K-12 and higher ed, because even if 100% of all the graduates of all of our institutions stayed here, it wouldn't be enough to fill all of our jobs. We have to be a net in-migration state. We have to attract families to come here and work and live here. And you might say, well, hey, we've been doing this since 2010, since the oil boom. We've had people moving here. Look at the growth we've had. In 2010, when we had the oil boom, unemployment in the rest of the country was, 6, 7, 8, 9, some places approaching 10%. We had jobs nobody else did. Now, today is now. So we have the lowest unemployment in the country since 1969. Everybody's got low unemployment. People are not going to pack up and move away from their families to come to North Dakota for a job when they have a job close to home. So then how do people make decisions today? They make decisions about where they want to work, where they want to live, and then they decide on the job. So this comes back to Main Street. If we're going to solve the workforce challenges that we have across all industries and all geographies in the state, we have to create cities that people want to live in. And to do that, they have to be, as we say, vibrant and healthy. But that includes arts, it includes culture, it includes great schools, it includes walkability, it includes neighborhoods, it includes forestry and trees and access to nature. It includes partnering with local state parks. It includes greenways. It includes all the activities that you would say. And if you're an employer in the room and you're trying to recruit someone to come to work here, what is it that you tell them why they should live here? The thing that you're telling them is the thing that differentiates this community or any community versus any other. I don't think we're saying to people, come live in our community because we have a whole variety of drive-through restaurants, because every other community in America has the same drive-through restaurants. We can no longer say, come to our community and live here because we've got these big box retailers, because everybody's got the same big box retailers. That's undifferentiated. We need what is different. We have to think about what makes us different, and each community is something that makes you different. And some of that is that engagement with parks, with recreation, with the outdoors, all those things, is arts, history, all of the festivals, the programming that creates community. So that's the healthy, vibrant piece. The third leg of the stool, so one is workforce, second is healthy, vibrant communities. The third one has to do with we call smart infrastructure, which is we have to become more economically astute about how we build our cities and the patterns of developments that we choose. Because if we choose to do development the way that we have always done development in the past, then we are in a position where we're going to end up with high property taxes. And we end up with high property taxes in part because how we design our cities drives the cost of the cities we live in. If you have more linear feet of everything, if you have more linear feet of streets, sewer, water, that drives more linear feet of garbage, more linear feet for fire to have to patrol and police to patrol. And so literally the length and the width of a city, the linear feet relative to the people that are in it, is a simple formula. Population divided by by how spread out you are. And so we need to think about how do we design cities that make sense for all the taxpayers. I was excited to be in our neighbor West Fargo last week at a meeting. We were having this meeting there, and I was thrilled to find that the West Fargo city officials understand the math. We were meeting in the building, which now includes the VFW and two local businesses there. Moore Engineering and Onset Twitchell Law Firm, who moved into a mixed-use building downtown. They replaced the old single-story VFW that had parking in front of it on Cheyenne Street. I mean, you could argue that West Fargo was the fastest, well, they are the fastest-growing city in the state, the fastest-growing, the West Metro School District, as I like to call it, which is Horace, Harwood, West Fargo, and everything in Fargo west of I-29. Virtually, that West Metro School District added 430 students. 430 students added to West Fargo this year would make, that's about the 28th largest school district in the state, the growth. So we have 180 school districts in the state. 150 of them, you know, have less than what West Fargo added this year. And so we've got all this growth going on, but we're with the students, and we had 8 students there, 4 from Cheyenne and 4 from West Fargo, and we said, you know, what do you guys like to do? And they all said, oh, we like to go downtown, we like to go downtown. After about the third one, I said, which downtown are you talking about? They said, oh, no, downtown Fargo. T-Berry, all this other stuff. So there is West Fargo has an opportunity on their Cheyenne Street and their community centers to build walkable mixed-use retail, but here's the economic kicker. It's not just because it's great for attracting workforce. Here's why it's smart infrastructure. The 3 buildings along Cheyenne that had $1.9 million of taxable value for the city of West Fargo are being replaced by 3 multi-story buildings that have $28 million of taxable value. Okay, that's a 14x increase of taxable value on the same linear feet of infrastructure for the city of West Fargo. So guess what? Now I've got, without raising taxes, but I've raised taxable value, more money's coming in. That allows West Fargo to say, we're going to put a public green space next to the building. We're going to have a giant TV screen. They got AstroTurf. They got lights. They got 300 people sitting out there in lawn chairs watching a Bison football game on an afternoon, forming a sense of community without having to buy a Bison ticket because the Bison game is sold out. So they're doing some cool, interesting things, because when you've got higher revenue per square foot, you can add amenities like a cool little plaza that you couldn't add before. So economically, and then that helps get people to say, hey, this is a community I want to live in. They're going to recreate effectively a Main Street south of I-94 near the new hockey arena, where they're building mixed-use buildings around a plaza that's going to have a targeted amount of property value per linear square feet. They are also have adopted a form-based code, first city we've seen do that. So then, and it actually had a city official from West Fargo stand up and say in a meeting, if we build only single-use zoning, single-family resident neighborhoods, we can't keep doing that, because the tax revenue that we generate off of those homes isn't enough to pay for the schools, the parks, and the infrastructure, the city infrastructure, not enough. They would estimate that if you build a new neighborhood in West Fargo that's zoned residential only, and each home is worth $300,000, that those homes would have to be worth twice as much at the same property values to actually pay for all the costs of the infrastructure, et cetera. So they've figured out that single-use edge development, residential only, is subsidized by something. When that's being done in a city, it's being subsidized by all the people in the older neighborhoods that are helping pay for the new neighborhoods. And that's not a sustainable model, and it's not helping us attract and retain workforce. So we just all have to get smarter. It's why we now have started a year ago to build out dashboards for every city in the state that is interested in participating in the Main Street. The team that's been working on this last year just won a Global Digital Government Award for the building of those. I would encourage everybody to take a look at, we're at kind of, version 1.5, version 2.0 of those dashboards, but we're trying to get the information out so that all decision makers, whether you're on a park board, a school board, city commission, or whether you're a citizen, you can actually look at the data and make data-driven decisions about how we build and grow our cities. And so the interesting thing that I'll take even a step further of where this kind of thinking leads you, with a form-based code in West Fargo, if you have an issue and you say, look, we can't suddenly double the price of every home and make it work. How do we get the values up in a neighborhood to pay for the schools, the parks, and the infrastructure? Well, you increase the property value per that area. So then you have mixed uses. And the mixed uses don't always have to be vertical, like the examples I gave on Cheyenne. The mixed uses could be side to side as long as they match the same form. So in regular traditional zoning, which we've had in our United States since the 1920s, They were designed in a reaction to the 1900s, the 1910s, during the dirty industrial ages, where you didn't want people living next to dirty industrial areas, and so we said we're going to put industry here, and we're going to put residents there, and we have zoning, and that's for a health reason. We'll keep people apart. Well, with the clean industries we have today, that doesn't make any sense. West Fargo, under form-based zoning, in one of these new neighborhoods, if you built a dental office that looks like a big house, and you've got 2 dentists in it and 4 people that are working in there as dental techs, they could actually walk to work into that house in that residential neighborhood, and you'd be getting commercial value in that same neighborhood that you've got also only residential. That's one way with form-based code that you could actually drive more value into a particular neighborhood. The other thing that form-based code gets you thinking about is, even when we think about big box retailers, which is an issue that we have because most of the pattern of development in our communities has been driven by federal subsidies. The federal government pays 80% of an arterial road that goes through our community, particularly if it's like a U.S. Highway 81, U.S. Highway 10, which is Main Avenue. Anytime you've got a federal designation, the federal government comes in and pays for that. That's how you can end up with us in a city of 125,000 people, how you can end up remarkably on South University. We end up with something that's 11 lanes wide. We have 11 lanes to plow on South University, in part because of the federal dollars that came in and said that we're going to have 3 lanes plus a center turn lane. Boy, that's wide and dangerous. We better put frontage roads on each side, so then 7 becomes 11. That's how in West Fargo, when they do it, a couple of years ago, there was an $18 million expansion on West Main Avenue. That's how you end up with 7 lanes and 2 frontage roads, on a place where there was never ever a traffic jam. And so because again, the federal dollars coming in, those federal dollars aggregated traffic over the decades from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, aggregating traffic, created opportunities for 2 kinds of business models. One was drive-through restaurants, and the other was big box retailers. Through the aggregation of traffic, the big box retailers are under enormous threat from a thing called online. Maybe you've heard about it. Online retailing has only now reached 9.6%. It's not even reached 10% of all retail sales in the U.S., and it's already tipping over the business models of many of the big box retailers because it's growing faster than any other segment, and so we're going to continue. I think I saw in Fargo that there's 1 million square feet of big box space available now. You can drive around the state of North Dakota, drive around this country, you're going to see big box retailers empty everywhere. The most successful big box retailer and the only one that's actually differentiated because there isn't another one in the state is Costco. And West Fargo, while they're celebrating Costco's sales tax that they bring into the city, they are also in discussions with Costco because they have concluded that Costco's parking lot is 3 times the size it needs to be. The box that Costco sits in only generates about $15 million of assessed property value that the city of Fargo and the school district gets the tax is that $15 million box. For that same amount linear feet of infrastructure at that prime corner, West Fargo estimates they should have $80 million of property value there. So they're talking to Costco to saying, can we develop other businesses that are on your pad? Could we put bars and restaurants on your pad that need parking after 9 p.m. through midnight when you're not using it? This is called we're mixing the uses. You can even mix 2 different kinds of commercial uses. But if a big box retailer walks into our community and says, I need X amount of space, that's the way we've always done it, and we just roll over and give it to them, we're actually hurting the taxpayers by doing that because we're diminishing the amount of assessed property value per linear feet of infrastructure. So again, this is all pretty simple math. We have to have not just numerators, but we have to have denominators. And the dashboard can help figure it out, the planning teams can help figure it out, but we can be smart. And if we do this, this is how we get property taxes down, is because we're efficiently using the infrastructure that we have. And I would say in the older parts in neighborhoods like this, whether it's Fargo, Bismarck, Grand Forks, Minot, one of the hidden subsidies is in the older neighborhoods that have got 50-foot lots and alleys where we've got aerial infrastructure, power lines running down gravel. You could ride a bike for 4 minutes and be either north or south of here in North Fargo or South Fargo, and we can be on an alley that's got a gravel alley with a power line overhead, and go see if you find that on the edge of any of our communities. So the people in the older neighborhoods with the poor infrastructure are subsidizing the new growth on the edge. Absolutely, positively. Do the math, figure it out, because if the new growth doesn't pay for itself, then who's paying for it? Then the property taxes from the older neighborhoods are subsidizing the new. And that kind of growth Ponzi scheme can't be sustainable, and it also doesn't help us attract and retain workforce. So 3 stools. 1, workforce. Got a huge issue. We're competing against every other state in the country, and we're competing against other countries for workforce, and people aren't sitting still. Michigan just passed in their legislature what they call the Marshall Plan for Workforce, $100 million effort in the state of Michigan to try to address that. So we've got lower students showing up this fall in some of our universities in the eastern part of the state. Part of that may be because South Dakota is now offering free tuition for 2-year schools. So we've got new forms of competition that way. We've always had people coming to our universities and staying as a form of workforce. We've also got new competition for online, where people can get great degrees from great universities without having to move. They can work and get their university degrees. So we've got new forms of competition that are going to challenge the ways that we've traditionally developed workforce. So workforce is key. Healthy, vibrant cities is how we attract people. And then how we retain them is we got smart infrastructure that allows us to keep the property values, property taxes down so it can afford to live here. Before I close out this section, I do want to also thank a number of people here. I see John Richmond's here from NDSCS playing a key part on working on the workforce. John's got a bunch of programs down there where the graduates have 7 job offers per graduate. At least. So anyway, we've got some work to do to try to expand our capacity in terms of how we're doing that. I'd say one of the things I've challenged the local school districts and the university here is, given that we've got the largest number of advanced manufacturing jobs available in this community, and one of the things that is working really well in some other places, including Bismarck, where Bismarck Public Schools has had a long-standing partnership with Bismarck State College to create the Career Academy, is that we need to think about how do we invest in career and technical training in Cass County. And if we're moving from a 5 high school metro area to a 7 high school metro area, I would challenge everybody, instead of doing 7 traditional high schools, let's do 6 traditional high schools and 1 mega super cool CTE training, or 1 dispersed CTE training where the CTE isn't just welding and auto mechanics. CTE is med tech. It's cybersecurity. I mean, it's all the things where you can get great jobs through certification these days, and we need lots and lots and lots of those jobs where you can get a high-paying job without a bunch of debt, become a lifetime learner, and just keep getting your just piling on your stackable certificates over your whole life. You can do that. I know the USDA is here. Folks from Commerce are here. We got the League of Cities is here. NDSU Extension is here. These have all been partners with us across the state. On Main Street, I know we got a bunch of folks from around. I see we even got the Audubon Society here. So we've got lots of folks that are here helping us and partners, so thank you for all that. We got a number of legislators that are here, which are playing a key part of that. And of course, lots of people from the private sector, because we can't do anything without the economic activity of the private sector. Mayor, did I miss anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so with that, what we want to do this morning is we want to get everybody have an opportunity to participate that's at the table, and then we'll open it up later for questions or comments from the audience. And so just so that everybody here can understand who's all here, we'll do a speed round, go around and just, who you are and who you're representing. I just zip around the room, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to lead with the students, and I'll introduce the students and let them help to kick it off. But you want to go this way, Mayor?
Okay. Tim Mahoney, Mayor of Fargo.
Dave Pepcorn, I'm a Fargo City Commissioner. Can I add real quick? We were just in Georgia, and in Georgia they pay for any in-state student that graduates, pays for their tuition. And then at a tech school, they pay for everything. And so I would like to have that be in our legislature, that our legacy fund consider something like that.
Thank you.
Pass. Tony Grenberg, Fargo City Commission.
John Strand, Fargo City Commission. Thank you, Governor. I've taken 3 pages of notes already.
Randy Gerhold with Microsoft.
Nate White with Sanford Health.
Good morning, Julie Peterson Klein, Bell Bank.
Morning, Governor. Thomas Hill from United Way of Cass Clay.
Bryce Johnson, the CEO of the Home Builders Association.
Joe Deutsch, Fargo Park District.
Stacy Griggs, Fargo Park District.
Joel Vettel, Fargo Park. Steve Swantek, Gate City Bank.
Tiffany Jelinski, I'm with the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC.
Charlie Johnson, Fargo Moorhead, West Fargo Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Cindy Rott, North Dakota State University.
Chase Grindenberg, NDSU Student Body President.
Dave Batchelor, Apario.
Mike Almendinger, Kilborn Group.
Josh Ulrich, Scuba and Doe Candy Company, and a member of the DCP.
Lee Dobrins, Downtown Community Partnership Board Member, and I work at JLG Architects.
Melissa Rademacher, President of the Downtown Community Partnership.
Rebecca Knutson, Fargo Board of Education.
Rupak Gandhi, Fargo Public Schools.
Ed Shen. FYI, oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Tate Fisher, Fargo Youth Initiative.
Juliet Sampson, Fargo Youth Initiative.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody, for this here at the table. Let's start off with our members from the Fargo Youth Initiative. Maybe just for everybody, because they may not know everything about FYI, but just give us 30 seconds on what that is. But then I think the question for the students, and I'll set this up, is we've started making a requirement of we've done over 30 community visits like this around the state, and we realized after about the first 5 that we were missing a voice, and the voice was the voice of not just university students, but high school and younger. And so we've made a requirement that we have to have them in attendance at the thing. So thank you, and Superintendent, thank you also for being here to help represent all the students here. And I would just throw out, if we think students don't matter to this community, the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo metro area, that between Fargo and the West Metro school districts, we now are over 20% of the students in K-12 in the state of North Dakota are in this metro area, if that's an interesting stat for you. And so understanding what's missing for all of you is part of what we're trying to understand. So we would love to know what you guys do when you're not in school, what's interesting, what's missing, what you'd like to see happening, how do you engage, what's your awareness about opportunities for education, employment, just your perspective on growing up in this community.
Well, to basically summarize what we are, we're like representatives for the schools of Fargo. We basically like explain what we as the youth of the community want, and we put on this event called Impact Fargo, where we invite high schoolers from all over the city to come and to share what they want to see in our community and to learn how they can better impact Fargo.
Yeah, so at the convention we have what we like to call power half hours, where we separate into groups and we ask the participants who are there what they think Fargo could need. And one of the bigger responses that we got was more opportunities for youth in like downtown, in Fargo in general, to have at night, because the downtown, like traditionally for youth, it usually ends around like when the sun goes down. And after that point, it's pretty much 21 plus, and a lot of youth are like, we need something to do, because most of the time what we get are school dances, and that's about it for late night activities.
So there's this cool place that I've gone to a few times. I think it's called 623. They hold like kind of like I don't even know what to call it, like
It's kind of like a folk dance.
yeah, just like that. And I feel like if we had a bit like more of that stuff, I feel like we would just, I don't know, I feel like that'd be a lot more fun, and we just feel a lot more like engaged, I think is the right word.
Yeah, I think we're going to echo the Cheyenne and West Fargo kids by saying that we definitely spend a lot of time downtown, and we would like to see like more opportunities to spend time downtown, because right now it's like limited to like going to like coffee shops and maybe like seeing a movie or whatever. So more variety in what we can do, I think would would be better for like attracting youth and keeping them here so that they'll continue to like go to college here and contribute to the community.
Thank you. We're going to follow with some more questions, but I would just say this matches everything we've heard all over the state and came out in the first 60 seconds, which is basically if you're under 21, even in a town that has 3 universities, what is there to do? I mean, and again, I was in Bottineau and Devil's Lake yesterday. We've held this thing in very small towns, and if somebody there says there's nothing to do under 21, these other small communities all look at Fargo and go, well, it must be great to be a teenager in Fargo because look at all the things they have going on. We really haven't cracked the code for under 21 anywhere in our state, and this is essential to us to think about how we want to attract and retain youth and make it interesting. And I think one of the things that came up specifically from the West Fargo kids, which I know as a parent that still has someone who's under age 21, I got a 6'5", 20-year-old, and I can't go have a burger with him at JL Beers because that's 21 plus. I can't go to Toasted Frog for dinner with him because it's 21 plus. And so then you go, oh, we have all these great restaurants in downtown. I can drive out to the edge and go to a chain restaurant somehow, but I can't go to one of the ones down here. So I mean, there's again, those are some local regulations that we have to look at that are creating some challenges. Those are specific examples brought up by one of the students last week, and not just me bringing it up. But so tell us again, what kind of things, if you guys had your dream list, you're with all the other kids in the Fargo Youth Initiative, what kind of activities would be interesting?
I guess okay, so a thing that I thought would be cool was if like we could have like a youth like nightclub. That word is kind of like, you know, like not a great word, but like that's like kind of like the vibe, not the vibe, oh my God. That's like kind of like the thing that I kind of like think of is that like a place where you could just go with like your friends and like hang out for the night and like, you know, have fun and like have food, maybe like, you know, just have a good time there.
Yeah, one of the things that got brought up at Impact Fargo was that people wanted like a space in the community where youth could go to hang out and have a good time, eat food, dance, or play like billiards or whatever. Just like something to do to pass the time and have like a good night out or whatever.
And they also talked about, because like especially students from like Davies and like South Fargo, like downtown is kind of, it's far. It's really far from like where they live. So having something kind of in that sort of developmental region, especially like some sort of like a hot spot for youth, I guess would be a good way to put it, would bring a lot more people to like stay in there because we're pretty much for downtown, it's South and North Fargo that are like South High and North High that are really like getting involved in it, and Davies is kind of,
we're kind of just like out there, like just whoa, like wow, we are really far south, and it's like, you know, and it's like a long drive, but like, you know, we kind of see it as like the only place to go right now. So like we all have to go there in a sense because like all like the cool places are downtown, like I can't think of a cool place now. But like
T-Berry.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, like the chill places where like you can like hang out or all downtown. So like it'd be nice if we could bring some of that down south more.
So maybe Ed, start with you, but name the high schools that you go to, because I'm assuming you're Davies.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Ed and I are from Davies.
I'm Tate I'm from Fargo North.
Okay. And then talk a little bit about what grades you guys are and what are you thinking about doing after you graduate?
We're all seniors this year.
Okay. And what's next for any of you thinking about sticking around the community?
It's crossed my mind, but I didn't, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I feel like for me, I do plan to go out though. I plan to go outside for college and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Ed. I am planning on going out of state for college, for the most part, yeah.
I think like the two biggest draws for us is like a lot of us in our grade are really competitive and like high achieving students, but we're all for the most part wanting to go out of state because firstly we're like trying to look for a place where we can get like really good education and like a place where we can get a lot of different experiences. So I think if North Dakota could improve on their universities and on giving youth more opportunities to do different things and experience different things, then you would be able to see more of those high-achieving students staying at schools like NDSU and UND.
Great. Thank you. Superintendent, anything you want to ask these students or comment?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I think for us, it's just a matter of what else do you need, and I think they've been able to answer that pretty well. So.
Other people around the table have questions for our students?
If you're going to go away for college, what would bring you back to Fargo or West Fargo or North Dakota in general?
I guess like what would bring me back is kind of like, ooh, that's a good one. With the major that I'm planning on going in, electrical engineering, some more like, I guess if I would plan to live like somewhere near where I currently live, and so more opportunities for jobs like that are closer and not somewhere south of like Maine, I guess, or not Maine, but like less than like a 15-30 minute drive to work would be stellar.
Yeah, I think like what we're looking for when we're going out of state is like a strong network of businesses that are like looking to draw students from those schools and get them like high paying jobs with a lot of benefits. And if we could have that network in North Dakota, then you would be able to see more retainment and more students going here because then they will be wanting to seek those jobs.
Yeah, I think that's the point, just like right there. I don't think there's much else to be said. Yeah.
During the time that you guys were in high school, did you ever have any contact with the sort of private sector job market through career fairs or presentations or co-ops, apprenticeships, internships?
Yeah, there was a career fair, I think, freshman year, there was a career fair, and it was really interesting to see that, but like, it was like a very basic level introduction, like it was like, this is what like welding is like, this is what it's like to be like an engineer, but it's like, it wasn't like, okay, here's where we are, here's what it would be like to be an employee of this place.
Yeah, they had us like all bust out to NDSU and they had this like a bunch of different.
It was at the Fargo Dome.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Fargo Dome. Yeah.
When you were a freshman?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Steve and Charlie each have questions.
Juliet and Ed, what are your plan as far as your majors? Have you decided right now?
Computer science. I don't know about Ed.
Economics.
Charlie?
So, is this on? I can't tell if I'm.
Yeah, it is.
So, you talk about things for kids to do under 21. You know, we have lots of pretty nice attractions in town, but I don't know that they cater consistently to like evening activities for kids. And I think one of the questions I would have, do you think high school age or early college age kids would go to places? I mean, you'd have to pay something, right? Because not everything, there has to be a business model, right, Governor, for things? So, like, if a place like the zoo or the Air Museum or you know, offered a night every month or two for, you know, maybe with some music and a band and activities, do you think those things would attract crowds? I mean, you only find out if you do it, but what's your feeling about that?
Oh yeah, I'd pay just to, you know, have a night out and stuff, yeah. Well, for sure.
And I know, like, downtown Fargo, like, I'll see, like, signs saying, like, oh, there'll be, like a cool band playing, like, at, like, Dempsey's, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could go to that. And it's, like, the time is fine, like, it's, like, but it's just, like, the fact that I can't go to it makes me kind of, like, I guess, like, not to use a really colloquial phrase, bummed out. So it's like having more, I guess, yeah, people will go to that for sure. Yeah.
On the music piece, I would also say one thing that we had learned too is it's not just that these kids can't go to listen to music if you're under 21. If you're under 21, you can't play in a venue in Fargo. And so we do have musicians that are talented musicians that graduate from high school that leave the area because they can go play someplace else unless they're playing at some all-age venue like Red River Market or something like that on a Saturday morning.
There are some states that'll allow that.
Yes.
There are clauses
Charlie,
for
can
that.
you cede your mic right behind you? We've got a community member that wants to. Robin, you want it? School board member. Thank you, Robin, for being here.
How many of you know that Fargo Youth Commission used to own Dempsey's, and it was a free nightclub for kids? Wow. So that
I didn't
model's
know that.
there.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
FYC
that.
did. I'm the CEO for FYC.
Oh, I didn't know that, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, Joel.
Just one of the concerns we always have about any type of activity that we have, and any type of thing that we're trying to accomplish, is oftentimes the communication. How do we best get the word out to the users and the potential users? And I'd like a little bit of insight from you as young people. How do you garner your information about events, and is there a better model for us to utilize?
So there's basically two ways which we find out about events. The first way is through word of mouth. Like that's traditionally how like things are spread. But then the second way is through social media, especially something like Instagram or Twitter. Because from what going back to the 623 place, the only reason why I knew about it and why I knew about the dance parties was because people who were going there and like the place itself were posting about it almost like pretty often. And so like being able to like see that kind of consistent advertisement from the place that like also kind of relates, I guess, would be effective for like getting the word out.
And to follow up on that, how do we target you specifically? Social media is great, but oftentimes, we have to get you to follow us. And how do we get and target you as consumers of our products to really get you aware of what we're trying to accomplish and to gather your input on what you see as the future of entertainment from the Fargo Park District or for any quality of life entity in our community?
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I guess like, this is like kind of interesting, but like having more like young people as being a part of like the activity or like being a part of whatever you're trying to like get across would definitely help, because it's kind of surprising how much like networking that young people have. Like especially on like something like Snapchat, where people can put in their stories and like hundreds of people see it. It's like, yeah, you want it.
So I think it's an exciting time, Joel, because the Park Board is going to have that downtown plaza, and these kids are asking for stuff to do. The Fargo Youth Commission can work with you on that. My son has, I don't know how many thousand people on the Snapchat. They really do that all the time. And they say, hey, well, how about getting on Facebook? Dad, that's old. So I think that we could work with you on this, because it seems to me that. And I think the other issue with the business leaders here, with Steve here and stuff, maybe we should have internships in the summertime so you could see what a job is like, or what we have around here. Microsoft is here as well. As maybe we can take the youth in. Boston has a youth initiative, and what they do is all the kids do internships during the summertime, so they can see what's available in the community. And that might be, we always think about it as senior year, but maybe it'd be junior, senior, and those types of things. And I know in the health community, we'd love to do that. I know Nate would do that. We do that all the time. So maybe we have to be more proactive in thinking about how we can get you to see how great Fargo is. So I went away to college and came back, great experience, learned a lot of things, but it was fun to come back home. So I think maybe we can work on that. Sorry, Governor.
Oh, it's all good. I want to just sort of maybe wrap up this section and thank let's give these students a thank you for being here. I think the challenge I would put out for everybody that's here, private sector, park district, school district, it doesn't matter who you are, it's free to ask, to get together with kids and ask them what's on their mind. And one of the things that we all could do more of or ask yourself if you're in a board meeting, if you're at a chamber meeting, if you're in an EDC meeting, if there's not students in the room, ask yourself why not, and then get them there, because every time I talk to a group of kids, I'm learning something. And so I just would encourage everybody to do that. We talk a lot about, one of the themes we've heard from students across the state was that, there's all these things that are called student leadership, but then we get in them, and then we're supposed to be the student leaders, but the parents, the adults, the teachers, the faculty, administrators, they control everything, and then they make all the decisions, and they tell us what we can't do. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think if we're serious about student leadership, we have to actually have the student leaders lead today, not just have this like faux thing that we're doing that makes us feel good as parents. We actually have to let them actually get involved and help drive decision-making, because they can absolutely add a lot, and we have real opportunities to do that. So when we say student leadership, let's start talking about the leaders of today, not the leaders of tomorrow. Okay, thank you guys. Let's start going to the next thing. I want to jump next is private sector. We got a bunch of folks here from government entities and associations, but I want to hear from the private sector. So Randy, Nate, go around the room here. Steve, people, Bell Bank, Julie, jump in. But I want to hear about how many positions you have open, kind of a lightning round, and what are the challenges you're having with workforce. And also, a number of you have been serving on statewide workforce initiatives, so thank you for that. But Randy?
Yeah, hello, everybody. First, before I answer that, I probably need to follow up with you guys, because my daughter's a senior at Davies, and she seems to get home from downtown a lot later than after dark. So, so the open positions that we have, we're typically anywhere from 50 to 60 open positions. It will spike. A lot of people think, when they think Microsoft, they think that we are all computer science, positions. There certainly are a lot of positions that are in that field, but there's also positions in sales and in product support and all these different areas. So I think it's a great idea what the mayor suggested. We have done that in the past, and we do that with teachers in industry, working with the EDC, which I'm also on the board with, about bringing teachers in so that they have awareness about what we're doing in our businesses, but also bringing students in and let them experience all those different areas are things that we're doing. But we're continuing to hire. As you know, many of you know, we've added a lot of sales positions in the last 3-4 years, and we're continuing to hire in that area as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and certainly want our students coming out of high school to understand that, as well as the colleges.
And Randy, when you've been hiring those, how many different states have people moved to North Dakota to work at Microsoft?
I'm trying to remember the exact number. I know it's at least 38 or 40. It's really spread out across the country and even other countries. So we've hired people even from outside the U.S. that will come in, because we recruit across the whole United States and across a lot of different countries as well. And so in order to fill the positions that we need, we try to look regionally first. We have we've done a lot of recruiting from Nebraska, from the University of Nebraska. We've done a lot of recruiting from South Dakota School of Mines, obviously NDSU, UND. But we're finding that we're actually going even broader than that to get people brought in. And it's really not an issue for these early in career folks they come to Fargo, they like Fargo. It's more about getting them to stay here and build a family and do those things. And so it's so important to hear, what those early in career, we call them millennials, what are the things that they're looking for in a community? And we do, I would invite people to come out in Fargo and meet with those people, or come out to Microsoft and meet with those people that we've hired in the last few years.
Great, thank you. Nate?
Yeah, thank you, Governor. I appreciate your comments, and your approach to this is pretty similar to the way I feel and the way we feel at Sanford. As it comes to workforce, we literally have thousands of open jobs right now. One of our biggest challenges, and it was a good one to have, I guess, with our new medical center, was nursing. But the universities in this community are also a tremendous asset, and we've made great partnerships and investments in the universities, and we hired 450 nurses in 10 months after we opened. And so it's there, you can do it. I wish it would have been a little easier. But I think as you said, a lot of this isn't rocket science. And I think there's a lot of ideas out there, internships being a good one. I mean, we made a decision probably 18 months ago to double the size of our internship programs across the board, not only nursing, but, accountants and back office people. And, really with the theory of trying to grow your own, those are important. But as I sit around the room and I think about ideas aren't the challenge for me. It's getting some of those ideas across the finish line. Ideas are cheap, as they say. And so, I look at Tony and John back there. We need that workforce academy in Fargo. Our biggest challenge now is surge techs, x-ray techs, cooks. I mean, that's where our biggest challenge is now. They have a great idea. It's right in front of us. We got to get it across the finish line. And I don't, if any of you, I'm sure you've been asked, or as government leaders, let's do it. Let's get it done. I feel the same way as I look about fueling our future. It's right in front of us. It's a good idea. We have to invest in those things. Let's get it done. The ideas are there. They're right in front of us. I look at Joel and the parks and some of the things they want to do with the sports complex. The idea's there. That's a huge game changer for quality of life. I've seen it in other communities. And literally, I think there was the one down in Sioux Falls, they had 1 million visitors, youth, kids, being active in the first 4 years. That idea is right there. It's in front of you. Let's get it done. And so it's a tremendous community. And I always say Fargo has no idea how great it is. It's a great community. And people like this in this room are the reason why. And it's just, let's just keep getting things done. Let's get them done. And so I appreciate your approach. I think you're spot on with workforce and quality of life, differentiator. I wrote that down. What are the things that differentiates our community? That's a challenge to all of us, and we just got to get her done.
And thanks, Nate, for all that Sanford does in terms of, along with Microsoft, Bell, everybody, Gates. We got a lot of people around the table here that give a lot back. But tell how many employees do you have in the state of North Dakota now? Because I think you're the largest.
Well, I know in the Fargo market it's 10,000. It's probably close to 15 statewide.
Because I think you're now the largest, excluding the state of North Dakota, you're the largest non-governmental employer in the state.
Yep. And never any problems with that either. So, no, just kidding. North Dakota has been fantastic for Sanford Health, and but we also realize that our success is directly tied to the success of the community and the success of the state. If Fargo or any community in this state isn't doing well, it's not going to be good for us. And so our success is only the result of North Dakota and Fargo's success, and we're not ignorant of that.
Great, thank you. Julie?
Good morning. First, before I talk about our workforce, I just wanted to commend these students. I am a mother of 3 young children, 9, 8, and 6, and I want these youth clubs. Because when they get to your age, I want these youth clubs that they can go to and not be out on the streets and running around trying to figure out what to do. And I can tell you, when I was your age, I don't know if I would be requesting this, so hats off to you guys for doing that. If you guys need committee members, people to be on this committee, I would love to do that, because by the time my kids get this age, I want these youth clubs up and running. So thank you for that. And I can see our businesses sponsoring these nights and being the sponsor for each night or whatever. I think it would be great. I have been at Bell Bank for 19 years, and I can see why Mr. Solberg and Michael sent me here today. I didn't know we were speaking, so they sent me to do that. I think that's kind of funny. Anyway, secondly, I wanted to let you know we have about 1,200 employees in the North Dakota market. We probably have about 800. And what we're trying to do at Bell Bank is build a community and build something bigger than just a paycheck. It's somewhere that people are engaged and they want to come every day, and we work hard and play hard. And we kind of do that through our Pay It Forward program. And giving back to our communities is basically what our main value is every single day. We have probably right now, I haven't looked in the last week, but I think about 25 to 30 openings. Our biggest area that we're always looking to find recruiting and finding people to join us is in the IT area. Our millennials, we love them. I think we have close to 300 millennials within our company. And again, our Pay It Forward program, they want something bigger than just a job and a paycheck, and we're just creating that community. And I had one more point. Oh, we're working very hard in the last couple of years of leadership within our company, women's leadership, emerging leader programs, anything that we can do to get people to join our company, first of all, but then want to stay there for many, many years to come.
Great. Thank you, Julie. I'm going to jump over to Steve.
Again, thank you for your thoughts and suggestions, the three of you. I'm really intrigued by some of the comments, and I know that we have an internship program at Gate City Bank, but it's tailored towards college students. And I really like the idea of working with internships with students in your age group. So for example, Juliet, you're interested in computer sciences. The opportunities that might be right here in your backyard, here in Fargo, and the ability to be able to look with the universities that we have here and the others that, hey, you might be interested in staying here, continuing that. And I think that is, and also having that internship during your school years if you go to a university here as well. So thank you for your thoughts and ideas. I truly appreciate that. I think it really ties into corporate culture. I've been at Gate City now, this is my 41st year at Gate City. And, you know, been born and raised in North Dakota. From Edgeley to Fargo are the only two communities I've ever lived in. And when I look at the corporate culture, I think that is tantamount to giving back for a better way of life to the customers, communities, and our team members. And to be able to entice you, encourage you to show that there is potential growth with patience in an organization through Diversity Emerging Leaders Program. The importance that all of you in your age group love the idea of the volunteerism, to be participative in decisions that are made, whether we're in the community, whether it's at work at Gate City, and the decisions for students. And I think that's what's really great. I know with the student loan program that we have now with individuals that have high student loan, balances, and that working with those students to pay that off at a fixed rate, at a low term rate, it makes a difference as far as where they want to stay, where they want to continue raising a family or living in many, many years to grow. So we're excited, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you on that, as well as other business leaders, as well as the public and private sector. I think there is a great group of individuals within this room that by collaboratively working together, we can make a lot of things different. And we have offices all over North Dakota, Williston and Dickinson, and Governor, you're right, they have the challenges there as well. So I'm very excited. I think we can just work together and accomplish a lot.
Great. Thank you for being here. We'll jump down. I think, Dave, workforce needs at Apereo.
Yeah, so I think we've got 29 full-time positions open, mostly technical. We've got 225 team members here locally, about 90 people, engineers, scientists. So kudos, Ed, Tate, Juliet, you guys, for being here today. And if you are interested, throw it out there. Meet some artificial intelligence team members at our team, electrical design engineers. Happy to make some intros so you can get a little taste of what's going on here in Fargo. Workforce needs, we're recruiting engineers, scientists, people that assemble electronics, automation technicians, people to run robotics assembling things, and the recruiting is tough. Echo some comments kind of earlier. People don't know how friggin' awesome this community is. We've engaged some recruiters to bring people in from around the country. Half our team is foreign nationals at a leadership level, so we've got Mexicans, Germans, people from the United Kingdom helping run our business from a global perspective. And they all universally have become very attached to this community. This is an incredible place, not in the country, not in the region. This is an incredible place in the Midwest. This is an incredible place in the world. And people that come from all around the world to come and work for us, they recognize that. They see how special this place is. We are a really well-kept secret, and the more we can chip away at how well-kept that secret is, I think we're going to unlock a lot of potential. And to echo some things that my friend Nate down there was saying, I think we see a lot of the things that we need to do, from the perspective of youth engagement. There's some models out there. Reykjavik in Iceland has done some things really phenomenally in engaging their youth community, and they've got some of the same constraints we've got. I think we see some things we've got to do, and there's some models that we can copy from good practices, and I think it's about these kinds of conversations. I mean, thank you so much for having us here together today, Doug, so that we can recognize some of those things and get some collective momentum to push these things forward. Because Fargo's a very bright place today. We just do a good job of shading it, and as we pull that curtain back, I think people are going to really see this place glow.
Great, thank you. We've heard, I think, from all of our large employers that we have around the table. I think I want to jump to talk associations and education, but let's hear, we got NDSU at the table, and we've got Fargo Public Schools at the table. Maybe turn it over to the education community, because those are both from an employment standpoint and an education standpoint, because NDSU, I think, is number 2 employer in town, maybe behind Sanford in terms of head count, and K-12 is also one of the largest employers too. So tell us a little bit about, who wants to go first?
All right, so from Fargo's perspective in terms of employment, same thing that some of the challenges that we've seen as well. I mean, not only just across our organization, not just teacher vacancies, but also just needing individuals that come into our school systems for around our paraprofessionals as well. We have a large vacancy of that. That's always a growing demand that we have in our school district. And oftentimes there's just an assumption that K-12 education, your needs are only during the summer, which is the majority of where most of our employment happens. But even throughout the year, we still have kind of vacancies that they're always trying to fill. So there's always that need as well. Going to the programming side of that career and technical education, one of the things that we really want to do as we start expanding those opportunities for students is finding those certified individuals. How do we get industry professionals to come in and provide not only apprenticeships, but actually be able to be certified teachers to provide that curriculum to our students as well, and what does that look like? And then also, how do we attract students for those programs as well? How do we make exposure early and then allow those trade certifications to meet some of those demands that we have in our workforce in conjunction with a university partnership in that route down the road as well?
And roughly how many employees in Fargo Public Schools?
We have about 2,000 full-time employees.
I'd like to add something as a member of the Fargo Board of Education and a mother of 3 kids. One graduated from Fargo South. He's now at UND, and I have twins. They're at Fargo North as freshmen. So thanks to the 3 of you for joining us and helping to provide leadership. One thing that I was thinking about as a result of listening to you was opportunity and, well, 2 items, opportunity and participation. And it sounds like we need to do a better job at trying to find ways to inform and allow you to participate in all areas of our community, because you are a value add, you're a gift to our community, and I believe you are. You might not, or other kids might not feel as if they are, but you are. And we need to listen to you, and only by you being able to be exposed to some of the opportunities might you decide that you want to stay in this community. And there's nothing also wrong with moving away and learning and then coming back, because many of us have done that. Even if we lived in a smaller community in North Dakota and then moved to the big city of Fargo, for example. So thank you. We're looking in Fargo Board of Education at ways that we can involve students in our conversations. So I hope that you and other students hear from us and learn that we want you to be participatory in our decisions and our conversations.
Thank you. Rebecca, thanks for serving on the board. Superintendent, how many students enrolled this fall?
Just over 11,400.
And West Fargo, similar to that, I think?
Yep, just there, I think just shy of 11,000.
Yeah, so think about that for everybody here. 22,000 K-12 students in this community. It's a enormous asset. And then 3 of our largest and most innovative Class B schools, Kindred, Central Cass, and Northern Cass, are also, those students, when you talk to them, they're also assessing this metro area and this downtown as part of it, and that, throw in another couple thousand for those 3 schools. And we've got all in Cass County. I mean, it's a really incredible asset that we need to, as we say, need to engage. Okay, NDSU, Cynthia Chase.
Thank you. Glad to participate in the discussion this morning, and nice to hear feedback for up-and-coming future college attendees. From an employer standpoint, NDSU employs about 6,000 people, faculty, staff, part-time, full-time. We recruit globally, like Microsoft and Pario. We look for faculty and staff all over the United States and internationally. We live our land-grant mission. We have the STEM programs, our feature. We love to partner with the people at the table here for internship opportunities for our students. Our students participate in research in the undergrad environment. About 83% of our students have that opportunity to participate hands-on research. We live that student-focused piece of our mission. And with that, Chase here is one of our student leaders that I'll let him talk about his experience too.
Absolutely. Well, one comment I wanted to make was, so if you would have asked me how events or organizations should reach us or reach my generation, it's Facebook. And I didn't hear you guys mention Facebook in that, you guys' comments in social media. So I mean, it's only 3-4 years apart, but it's kind of kind of interesting to see that age gap there. One of the things that I wanted to mention was more on the workforce side, and I want to kind of tell a personal story on kind of why I'm going to be sticking around the Fargo community upon graduation. Is I had a great opportunity to intern this past summer with Pioneer Seeds, and it was just a great summer, and they actually gave me a job offer the first week when I got back to a campus here in the fall. And so I think it should be expanded on businesses and companies to be giving these co-ops and internships to students, and as well as upon having a great experience with that company, they should be looking at the first few weeks of class in the fall when they're getting back to their last year in college, is to be looking at offering that full-time job if they had a great experience both on the company side and the student side, because that really locks the student down to the Fargo community, and that doesn't allow them to kind of look for different opportunities in Minneapolis or in a variety of communities that surrounding the area, just because if you look at it and you see that you have a high quality job upon a graduation in your first few weeks of your last year in college, that's huge, and it's very hard to say no to something like that. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's jump over to Park District. You guys have got a big role to play in building healthy, vibrant cities. Joel, thoughts, comments?
Well, first I have to start off that I sense some bias from the governor for mentioning Northern Cass and not mentioning the Hillsborough boroughs in your comments about great schools.
I was focusing on Cass County.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with that tragic loss we had to Hillsborough in the region final when I was
going to say, there was some bias there.
Not that I've forgotten every moment of that play, final seconds. And then they went on to state and won every game by over 25 points. But,
I know, it's tragic.
But who's remembering that every day when they get up?
No, first off, I want to thank the governor for putting this together. I think we've certainly seen the need to continue the collaborations, and I owe probably Nate some money for the great comments that he made about the Park District and our collaboration. But it does mention to a point of where we're at as a Park District. Oftentimes we looked at quality of life in a very way of, we took the monies that were given to us by the citizens of Fargo, and we took those monies and we did the best we could to provide the opportunities that we felt were needed in the community. And I think our commissioners, 2 of them here with me today, would echo that is changing. We're going to continue to be asked to do more with maybe a little bit less. And that's all right, because now we're recognizing opportunities to partner with more and more groups that are outside our comfort range. We've always done a great job of partnering with other city entities, other governmental entities, to really find a way to build the things that we need. And now we're looking at ways through corporate America, also our nonprofit partners. 2 examples that I can point to. Right now, we're working with Sanford on our sports complex. The other one, certainly Block 9 with the Kilbourne Group. Those are excellent opportunities for us to get out there and provide quality of what we see as some of the best, as Dave mentioned, best in the world. And so that's an incredible gift to us. But also our nonprofits. We have Dakota Audubon here in the audience. We're working with them right now on providing some opportunities in some of the flood buyout areas along our river corridor to bring in some paths and some ways to get people engaged, especially our young people, in nature here in Fargo. And oftentimes we forget about those opportunities. And so we really see the future of collaboration as where we need to go as an entity, as an organization, not only from our private or the public sector, but the private sector, and continue to do that in a way that's meaningful, but very inclusive. And then also I want to just mention a little bit about workforce. Oftentimes we look at the Park District and fail to recognize that every year, each and every year, we employ about 1,200 part-time and seasonal folks. And the two biggest groups that we draw from are young people. And those young people, it's usually their first experience at work. And that's an incredible experience. And we want to try to provide that quality work experience so that when they go on and they're taking those jobs with Sanford, with Bell, with Gate City, they have a good foundation of what it means to work. And I think those internships are incredibly important. We provide those at the Park District, but even having those opportunities from again, that first job experience. The other ones that we see as very valuable is our senior population. We are in an area right now where we're seeing that baby boomers that no longer want to be the experience of retirement being what is a traditional retirement. They want to be active, they want to be doing things, and part of that is having opportunities to be employed on a part-time basis. And so we're hoping, and we continue to find ways to engage them, not only from a recreational standpoint, but an employment standpoint. And finally, just the infrastructure piece. We recognize, as I said earlier, we have to do more with less. And that's just a reality. We need to be more efficient. And so we're working on ways to work with the city, with the school districts, to find efficiencies in some of the smallest things. How we mow grass, the ways we take and engage each other on how we take and get garbage out of our systems. And so we're trying to do those opportunities to be more efficient with the dollars that are provided us, but still make sure that we're providing that quality experience. And at the end of the day, as everyone brought up here, is the only way we're going to keep people, the only way we're going to continue to be the best place in the world is by continuing to push the needle, to move that needle of quality of life. And that's making sure that we do the things that make a difference in our community. So I thank you all, and we encourage and we hope to continue this conversation.
Great, thank you. And Stacy, Joe, thanks for your leadership. Thanks for serving on the board. I'm going to jump to the associations, I'll call it now. So we got Downtown Community Partnership, Charlie FM Convention, Tiffany with EDC, Bryce with Home Builders, and Thomas with United Way. If you guys just sort of zip around, maybe we'll start this way with United Way and go the other way, but share your thoughts.
Yeah, Governor, I appreciate the opportunity. One of the things that we're really trying to incorporate into what we do, is, especially from a workforce standpoint, is look at diversity as an asset in this community. I can't, if I look at Mr. Gandhi and ask how many languages are spoken in Fargo Public Schools?
63.
So 63 different languages. And so we think about the building of global leaders right here in Fargo. Let's value that diversity and provide opportunities for those individuals who are here for a myriad of different reasons. I think about the number of engineers that Mr. Batchelor was talking about coming to work at Apario Systems, the number of high-end positions that Sanford is providing on the medical field. But when we think about people building a better life, let's think about people who are coming here for all reasons and provide opportunities for them as well. And so one of the things that we've been doing is we actually just started a partnership with NDSCS and 4 ethnic-based community organizations to help provide opportunities for them to get skilled certifications in jobs that are needed right now, while they're getting supportive services in housing, transportation, and education with communities and people that look like them and speak the same language. And I think that is something that's really going to move the needle, because we need more open, where we have so many open positions here, we need so many people to fill those. But without building that sense of community, I think we're really missing a huge opportunity. And so that's one of the things that we're doing at United Way. And along with building that sense of community, we need to focus on early childhood opportunities for our workforce. It's really a 2-generational model, and so we look at the skills that are needed today, but how we build that next generation workforce, and it comes from quality early childhood opportunities. They come in many different forms, but I think the more that the state and local communities can invest early on, that's the best investment that we can make, because we firmly at United Way believe our most precious natural resource, it's not oil, it's our kids. So let's invest in our kids early on and provide families an opportunity to get off of assistance and build a better life here in Fargo. So those are some of the things we're doing with our investments. We've got a myriad of different partners, many at the table. I really do appreciate the partnership with the CVB, the parks, the EDC, FMRA Foundation. We're working on things jointly to better invest our dollars because we know, as Joel said, resources are scarce. So let's be more efficient. So,
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Bergamo. I really appreciate being brought to the table today. I maybe have I have the opportunity to bring a little different perspective, being that I represent 830 companies, employers in the community who house people, and that includes the banks that are around the table, the financial institutions, the title companies, not just home builders and developers. And a couple of things to point out. One, on the workforce side, we have probably 2 million jobs that will be open in the country by the end of this year. Several hundred, probably close to maybe 2,000 in this market, in the building industry. So workforce is a very critical thing for us because delays in our projects are also going to cost the end user more money to build their home or whatever. So from that perspective, the skill training is very important to us. And so we are housing people, plus we are also an economic engine. And we work with many of the organizations around the table too. We depend on housing the people that the Economic Development Corporation is trying to attract to this community. They're trying to draw in organizations and provide good jobs, and those individuals need homes. And what we work towards is a balance of housing diversity. We focus on not only downtown, but on the outer areas, the existing areas. It's important to keep the existing neighborhoods fresh and safe, as much as to provide safe quality housing in newer areas as well, because not everybody wants to live in certain areas. Everybody's got their own opinions on where they want to be. So that's very important too. Also, I just wanted to thank our emerging leaders that are sitting around the table, because the expo actually that they were referring to, the Freshman Expo at the Fargo Dome that draws 3,500 kids from this region. It's small schools, all the large schools are all involved in that. But those freshmen, that was spearheaded by the Home Builders Association almost 20 years ago. And it's very important to us. 20 years ago, we actually recognized that the skilled labor force was going to be a challenge for us. And so we worked really hard to not only talk to the freshmen, but the middle schoolers all the way down to elementary, which brings me to our other important topic, which is the academy that's being talked about, and we're a great supporter of that as well. So it is technology, it's trades, it's all sorts of different organizations that need skilled labor, and not everybody is made to go to a 4-year school. Some need to go to the 2-year schools, and we're seeing a lot of those programs go away for our industry, so that's a big concern. And so I would just close with the vibrant, healthy communities need housing, and that's a very important factor in all 3 of these pillars. So with that, thank you, and we look forward to working with you on it.
Great, thank you, Bryce. Tiffany?
Well, thanks very much, Governor Bergam. I'm happy to be here. And thank you also to our students. I may try to catch you afterwards and ask you a ton of questions, because we have had a focus on workforce development at the EDC for a number of years now. And we have a number of initiatives to attract, develop, and retain workforce. And we certainly try to reach students in a lot of different ways. And obviously, sometimes we reach them, and listening to you guys today, there's obviously work to be done. So thanks so much for your comments again. But I guess to echo Thomas's comments, we've partnered with other organizations in the community, the United Way, the CVB, the Chamber, and the Area Foundation, and we've been looking at workforce as all of us as partners, and trying to find unique ways that we can attract more people here, and how do we retain them. So just a couple of the things the EDC has done. This week we had our manufacturing day, where we had almost 260 students go through local manufacturing companies, and we were able to expand the number of manufacturing companies they saw this year by a huge amount. Last year, we had 7 companies participate. This year, we had 17. And so obviously, all students didn't see all companies, but we certainly had a lot of employers come to the table, which was fantastic. And then we also have something that's kind of along the lines of what Dave was saying. He was just saying, you know, we really need to keep chipping away at what those from outside think Fargo is or what they think it isn't. And so what we do is we host an FM welcome party, and it's sort of a retention sort of activity where we try to keep people here in the community, and we show them how awesome we are by introducing them to the community and to each other. And that event is for students too. So you guys can feel free to come and check it out. It's not just for those 21 and older. So our next one is on October 16th. So if you guys know someone who wants to make connections or who is new or newer to the community, bring them. We'd love to see all of you there. So with that, I guess I would just say thanks again for letting me be here and be part of the conversation. And we're here to support all of the employers in the room and to be a good community partner.
Thank you. Been fun to hear about the engagement with the manufacturers too. Charlie?
Well, I thank you for inviting me here, Governor. Thank you, students, for telling us about these things. I talk to our attractions all the time. I might take some ideas back to them and see if they can come up with something, and I won't leave out the possibility of sponsorships because they're going to ask that question. I know that's going to come up. So I appreciate the fact that I just came from Bismarck yesterday, where I was at the annual summit meeting for tourism across the state, and I appreciate the fact that the administration understands that the same things we promote to tourists are the things that you promote to people you want to get to move here. It's basically the same thing. I think Tiffany and I and the rest of the people at the EDC and the CVB have been discussing that for a long time. That came largely, really got going during that workforce collaboration. So, you know, a lot of things came out of that, probably including a winter festival. So thanks to Joel for helping with that and all of our other community partners, because we found out that, you know, our researchers told us that they could always tell who had lived here the longest in their focus groups because they complained the most about the winter. So we said we should probably try to do something about that. So thanks to everyone in the community who's helped with that. We're heading into the 4th year of that, hoping to make it grow. But again, promoting to visitors promotes quality of life, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I think co-branding is a wonderful idea across the state and in our regions. And also, we're trying to intentionally target meetings industry, in the meetings industry, groups that fit into our local high-value industries. Tiffany, I need to talk to you today before you go. I'm going to a pharmaceutical conference in New Jersey next month, specifically because of what happens here, that we have a pharmacy school, we have a lot of research at Sanford, we have a lot of research going on. Aldevron's a huge company. I think it's time for us to think in terms of trying to have a confluence between the meetings industry and workforce and business development. I think we've been missing a huge bet by not doing that regularly in the past, so we're going to try to do that more often. So, you know, I could go on and on with things like this, but I tend to agree also with Nate when he says we need to get things done. I'm on a task force. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Pipcorn, for inviting some of us to be on the task force for Performing Arts Center downtown, which may end up where we're sitting right now. These are things that we need to get done, and we need to find ways, and I hope every group in the community will help pitch into that. So thank you for inviting us, and I think it's a really exciting time to be in Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo.
Thanks, Charlie. Like the synergy recruiting idea a lot. That makes a ton of sense.
Thank you.
DCP?
Okay, well, thank you for having us. And, you know, I commend the students. I mean, I grew up in Fargo, went to NDSU, and wow, did I miss having the opportunity to speak with all these business leaders. This is incredible. And I also have a 10-year-old son, and I want him to be a part of this. And thank you for inspiring me as a mother as well as a business leader and someone in the community that just loves this area and so values your opinion, and thank you. Also, there's so many people around the table that the Downtown Community Partnership relies on every single day for us to do our job, as well as the people in the audience, and we could not do it without you. We basically advocate and promote for downtown. It's the heart of our community, and thank you, students, for saying that you love downtown Fargo. We love our job every single day, and we work for you. And we also need to listen to what the community is saying and what they want, and we can't do it without the community support. And when you walk down the streets and talk to the retailers and the businesses and ask, you know, how are they doing? What are you concerned about? That's what we do. That's what we do every day. And there is concern about workforce out there, and there's concern about people who want to expand their business and they can't because they can't find people to work. So that is definitely a concern in our community and something that I'm excited that we're talking about. We also invited Josh, who also is a new business owner downtown, and we'd love to give him a moment to share his perspective on downtown.
Thank you, and thank you, Governor. Just to echo what the students said, I'd feel, you know, we just opened in May, Scoop and Dough Candy Company did, and I would say that for us, employment it's been great, because who doesn't want to work in a cookie dough candy ice cream shop? But really some of the concerns that we've had, because we tend to attract a younger audience for employment, which is great. But it is the vibe that people sometimes associate with downtown, that's still 21, you know, at a certain time, you know, that's 21 and older. And at first I was, you know, optimistic in thinking that that wasn't the case, but I do feel that that is still a huge, huge piece of downtown, that that at a certain hour it does get to the point where you lose the younger crowd, the younger students and families. So I feel that that's something that would be great we'd love to partner with whoever on and work with them on continuing to develop downtown for younger people, families. And I think we've seen a lot of work towards that with some of the new businesses downtown this past year that have definitely contributed to bringing in more. But yeah, so thank you very much and appreciate it again.
I'd just add a comment about one of the aspects of what we do as the Business Improvement District. We're the managers of that on behalf of the city, and so we're thankful for the city leaders and the state leaders that, you know, that allowed that to happen, and we were certainly involved in the establishment of that. And I think it's been a really important step for the downtown to be able to kind of, where the rubber hits the road, have ambassadors that are there. It's the clean, safe, maintained mission of the DCP and the bid. That allows that excitement for visitors to feel like they're in a safe and a clean space. We know that's a continual thing that we have to work on and strive for, but we feel like we've seen a lot of improvement in that, and we hear comments about seeing the ambassadors on the street and the importance that has for people to feel connected to where they're at and is excited about it. So we're thankful for that opportunity to continue to be part of that and be partners with everybody here around the table. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all. Thanks for all the great work that DCP does, whether it's, you know, picking up after a parade or supportive members, retailers that give up Broadway for all the public events that it gets closed for. We appreciate their citizenship and participation. And it's fantastic that we have 3 new ice cream options in downtown Fargo. But if you haven't, I'll put a shameless plug in for Josh. If you haven't had a chance to go to Scoop and Dough, make sure you get there. Have you guys all been there?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Sometimes the lines are long, but I think that's an indication of a great offering. So thank you. I want to give the final word here to the city leaders. You guys have been, like, along with me, been listening and learning. But commissioners, thank you for all that you do. I mean, this is one of the interesting things in North Dakota is even in our largest city, it's a part-time job, supposedly, to be mayor and commissioner. And I know that all of you put in tons of hours doing the work for this, for the City of Fargo, which is a big employer and largest city. And as we saw in the chart, fastest growing city. Congratulations. But love to hear from the commissioners some thoughts. John, you want to go first?
You've been waiting all hour, John.
Yeah.
Governor, thank you so much for your vision and your passion and your skill set that you're bringing to all of us and all of us out here. You know, I guess I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction. We all do better when we all do better. And there's a lot of folks not in here. There's a lot of voices that we don't always hear. There's a lot of people that are don't always have it so easy in life. And they're all us. They're all our people. They're all our brothers and our sisters and our sons and our daughters. And some folks feel challenges, are facing challenges that are utterly life-defining, and their futures depend on it. So my challenge to all of us, when we're talking about healthy, vibrant communities, is to look at who we're not being able to get to the table, and how do we help them get to the table? How do we help them step up their life and increase their mobility in their own world so they flourish and blossom and grow to their highest potential? We have 63 languages in town. We have diversity in this community that just is absolutely a wealth. The world has come to us. Now, what are we going to be for them? And what kind of neighbors are we going to be? What kind of friends are we going to be? What kind of, so it's not always easy. We have a lot of folks that are just plain trying to make ends meet, and don't always have the same social wherewithal that others have to get a step forward. And there's just a plethora of reasons and things and descriptions of the challenges they face. So that's my message today is look at who we're not seeing and look at who we're not reaching, and how do we roll them into our greater vision so that all people do better all the time. And there could be a litany of that, but one other topic I'd like to touch on with workforce development too, and this is really coming home to roost here, is we've had a recent shift in who's working. It's not just an unemployment rate. We have 4% of our people who've gone out of the workforce. So we're down to 63% of our population participating in the workforce. So those are senior citizens, they're people, they're boomers, the ones that have retired out, and their whole futures, and they're living longer. So that's another challenge for us, is to make sure that the quality of life for everybody, including our seniors, and on fixed incomes, and that they look at Fargo and our greater community as it's just a great place to be, the best place to be, and that we engage them and involve them and respect them and honor them, just like we do the youth. So last topic is technology is going to just change everything that we see. We're going to, before we know it, have flying cars. Maybe some say before we have autonomous vehicles, because the infrastructure is different. We're going to have the artificial intelligence, Aldebaran, and the robotic world coming our way. Our schools are challenged in our education systems with providing the type of skill sets for these future generations to really fit into a future that's viable for them, and they have pathways forward career-wise. And we need living wages for folks, so that they're not in poverty, so they can afford housing, so they can afford food, they can afford to have quality of life. These are all great ingredients, but let's just look for who's not there. And let's look at how we can bring them forward and listen and learn and engage and involve. And we'll be a much, much wealthier community, as good as we are, and in the bigger sense and the smaller sense. We just have so much opportunity there, and I thank you for bringing this opportunity to us, Governor.
Likewise, thank you, Governor. This is a topic I've been around for a few years, and I keep coming back, wrote some notes that, it's about people, and in some ways we're coming, back to the basics with our approach to how we tackle some of these issues. As Commissioner Pepcorn alluded to earlier, he and I were in Atlanta, Georgia earlier this week for the International Economic Development Council meeting, and part of our goal was to update and get an update what current trends are in economic development, and the themes that you have outlined in the Main Street Initiative mirror what state by state, city by city, the challenges. And one of the sessions that I attended in regions 200,000 to 300,000 people was housing, affordable housing, defining that, workforce, and economic diversity. And so those all intertwine with the Main Street Initiative. So kudos to you for your leadership and the effort and the hard work to go across the state to bring us together for initiatives that are going to change the meter, move the bar, if you will. Just to piggyback on one other, Atlanta story, one of the executives at Delta Airlines spoke Tuesday morning this week and shared that Delta is the largest employer in Georgia at 34,000 people. And in 5 years, they need to hire 25,000 just to keep current in the state of Georgia. And they complimented the Georgia educational system. It's about people, of the investment of the Hope Scholarship and other initiatives with trade and tech and career academies. And Delta has an integrated program with K-12 in Georgia with kids for in elementary school and in junior high and high school, so they have a better informed decision on a pathway when they graduate from a 2-year school or a 4-year to go to work for Delta Airlines. And then one of the cute stories that was shared was they had a group of 12 students, junior high students, in the Delta headquarters and in the airport. And all 11 of the 12 said, here's what I want to do. I want to be an air traffic controller. I want to be an A&P mechanic. I want to be a pilot. One boy stood silent for for the hour. And finally he was asked, well, what do you want to do? As they were looking out at the jetway. And he says, I want to drive the Porsche. If you know about Delta and their exclusive client list, you get off the airplane, you get into Porsche to drive to the next terminal, or the jetway. He said, I want to drive the Porsche. But the point is, and the story is, Delta's figured this out, just like many other states across the country and communities, and I just compliment you again for your efforts. And as a member of your Workforce Development Council, representing the city of Fargo, we appreciate the opportunity to have a place at the table. And you know we have recommendations coming to you that I think will move the meter for you to consider moving us forward during the 2019 session for those legislators sitting in the room.
And thank you, Tony. Let me also say thanks for all your efforts on the Career Academy. I know that, it was brought up by Nate, by Bryce, by others, Tiffany. I mean, with the work that you're doing there is important, but I'm with Nate. Let's figure out a way to get it done. Let's get it
One
over
other
the finish
comment.
line.
Are you the first student body president of NDSU to be elected governor? Just saying.
I don't know the answer to that, but was Governor Guy student body president? I don't know.
I'm going to be real short and sweet. I just think collaboration, what Joel talked about, that's the key. We're a small state, 775,000 people. That's one suburb in Atlanta, and so we all got to stick together. We're in competition now to get employees with everybody, and so we have to find stuff. What can we have to get people to come here? And so we have lots of good stuff. I liked what Nate talked about. We can all talk about stuff, but let's do some, because we can all have hypothetical things. So thank you very much for doing this, Governor. The other thing I wanted to talk about the governor, there's lots of politicians, unfortunately I'm one of them, that can talk about a lot of stuff. There's very few that have put their money where their mouth is. And so I think we're very fortunate, because lots of people can talk about hypothetical. And so we're all in competition, that's what I believe. But we're all on the same team, and there's no place else and no other group that I'd rather compete with than with our group right here, right now. So let's go.
I'm good. I think Dave would just like Nate to change it, the finish line to the goal line. I think you like goal lines better. But this is fantastic to get everybody together. We really have liked the Main Street Initiative. The City of Fargo, we think, is one of your shining examples of a community that's reached out and done that. But we couldn't do it with all our community partners, and we've really worked hard on that, and we'll continue to work hard on that. And I think it's a fantastic city to live in, and I hope the young people will consider it as their place to live in the future. But we still know this item is that we know is we cannot attract jobs unless we have a community which people are attracted to. That's truly what we have to have, as a community that people would love to live in, feel safe, and raise their children. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you. And thanks for hosting us here, too. Looking forward to some of the tours this afternoon, learning about new things going on here. In closing out, a couple thank yous. I thank broadly the legislators before, but I see that from where I can see, I see Thomas Beatles here, Ron Sorvag is here, Merrill Pepcorn is here. Anybody else I'm missing? Raise your hand. If I'm missing, stand up. But legislators play a key part in this, so thank you for your support, and thank you for taking time to be here today. Let me just offer a couple of reinforcing points here. John Strand mentioned technology. Certainly that touches everything we do, because technology is going to change every job, every company, and every industry. It is right now. And for those of us that work in government agencies, we got to be particularly focused on this, because government agencies have a harder time with procurement and adoption and evaluation of technology in general, because a lot of the procurement rules are built around the physical world and not the digital world, and it hampers the speed at which we can adapt new technologies. But we have to understand, it was brought up, how do we ask these kids, how do we interface with all these kids? They lead with Instagram. That's been the case around the state. Chase brought it up, that sort of just a few years of separation. It was Facebook, now it's switched. We heard from, we hear from most of the kids that don't use Facebook, that's what our parents use. But it's, and I think, again, a lot of organizations think they're on social media, but a lot of these groups aren't on Instagram. You know, everyone's got their Facebook page, but it's something we have to do to keep up with youth. I would say, again, on under Healthy Vibrant, we didn't talk about it here, but we've talked about it a lot as administration. But addiction is something that's touching, the disease of addiction is touching every community. Every organization touches most families in our state. We have a lot of work to do there. Many of you either were there or were supporting as sponsors for the Recovery Reinvented event, which second annual held and hosted by the courageous First Lady of North Dakota. We had nearly 1,000 people at the Fargo Civic Center attended that day, broadcast live. I think we had over, I know we had dozens of viewing sites, but there was over 500 links where people were watching online, so we think we reached a couple thousand people live that day. A lot of that material is online, but this is a important thing because it also affects workforce. It affects non-traditional workforce. We've got lots of people in our community who may have had a nonviolent addiction-related drug offense. In addition to, you know, battling the disease of addiction, they also now get to fall into the category of the one area in our highly politically correct world. We have left one area where we have broad discrimination, and that's against people who have received a felony conviction in their life. You know, felons have a hard time getting housing and getting job employment, and they may have ended up in that situation because we were trying to punish a disease as opposed to help either cure or treat a disease. And we have to start thinking, we have to have a cultural change. The survey that was done suggests that 1 in 3 North Dakotans still believe that addiction is a choice. And if it's a choice, then that means it's a moral failing. And then that means that you can affect choices by even greater punishment. The more we punish it, the less likely someone will do it, but that's certainly not the case. And we did have last year 77 overdose deaths in North Dakota. Many of those related and began with their addiction began with prescription opioids that led to other narcotics. So again, we have to change our culture and change our approaches. But this is one area where we're going to, save money and do the right thing and help enhance our workforce. So that's something that we're working on, and hasn't been just understand, even though we don't bring it up at every MSI meeting, it's one of the initiatives that we think is key to the Healthy Vibrant piece. Charlie brought up winter, which is key. I do want to, I have had a chance to get to know the Premier of Manitoba, and along with the Mayor of Fargo, got to meet the Mayor of Winnipeg, who's down here helping to kick off one of the marathon races. But I like to remind people that are having trouble recruiting people to North Dakota that there are 775,000 people living in the Winnipeg metro area. That's more than our entire state. That's 225 miles north of here. So we can learn some lessons from Winnipeg about how to engage in a way. They've got some amazing and wonderful winter festivals, including the same asset that we battle called the Red River. They host a winter wine and dine event where all the top restaurants in the city build temporary locations on the ice and host dining events. So they take a thing that is that we might think of as the bad, something that we're trying to fight all the time, and they've embraced it with a completely different cultural attitude. So I think we've got some things we continue to learn here in the Fargo metro area. We can learn from Winnipeg by embracing that. Charlie also mentioned the tie-in for being at the conference yesterday. We did announce yesterday the state of North Dakota. The state of North Dakota has for 15 years used the Legendary campaign as a marketing campaign focused on tourism. We're making a shift on that, and we've made one small, simple change to the, holding on to the Legendary roots, but we've activated Legendary with a verb, be legendary. So we're moving from legendary to be legendary. The be legendary is an opportunity for all employers to embrace this because it's a message of empowerment. It's a message of here's a place where you can reach your full promise and your full potential. And I think that we certainly across all of the state agencies, we did a survey at the state. We've found, I'm sure there's close to 100 different logos from state agencies. Many of them are initials and you wouldn't even know what state they're from, but we want to try to unify a brand, really focusing on Dakota, a little less emphasis on the North, which tests about, about being cold and North Pole and all these other things. But Dakota, be legendary, is a strong message, and we want people, as we talked about, the 69 languages at Fargo Public Schools, and places like NDSU, Apereo that are recruiting Microsoft, that recruit from around the world. We want to change the culture here where being North Dakotan isn't that you were born here, it's that North Dakota is the place you were meant to be. And if we can have that kind of inclusion, we can really help do that. So be legendary, got announced yesterday, and everyone's going to get a chance to embrace that. We think that we're going to need a statewide unified message if we're going to, as Commissioner Pepcorn said, we are competing. We're competing against every other state for workforce, and if we can be the place where people want to come and be legendary, make their mark, because we know in a state like this, you can go to public meetings and hang out with we have more elected officials per capita than any other state. You can touch your elected officials here, come to meetings, hang out with them, participate and do all that. So thank you for everybody that was here today. We certainly appreciate Fargo's embracing a lot of the principles of the Main Street Initiative, and Fargo being the Fargo and Cass County being the largest economic metro area in the state, and what this county does in terms of sales tax, employment, education is really, really important to the entire state. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. Appreciate it. And audience that we're here today, an original thought was we're going to have some open mic time. We had such great participation here, we didn't get to that. But I do want to raise Commerce officials. Raise your hands back here. We got James, we got Holly, we got Sean, we got Jace is probably in the room someplace back there. We got a whole team. Everybody stand up if you work for Commerce, if you can. The team, stand up. Everybody stand up. Okay. You guys take a good look at these folks. If there is something that you wanted to say at the meeting that you didn't get to say, go to one of these 5 individuals. We'll take your notes. We'll take action items. We want to hear your stuff. We'll hang around and make sure that we hear everything that you want to tell us, because we're here to get input and feedback on how we can continue to make our programs even better. So thank you, Commerce team. Thank you, leaders from Fargo. Thank you, citizens that were here. And thank you, Mayor and the Commissioners. Thanks for hosting us this morning. Appreciate it.
I just want to add something really, really quick. I don't know how many of you know this, but this morning, Fargo and West Fargo was actually on the front page of Reddit, one of the biggest social media sites alongside Facebook and Twitter. And it was for our public schools' new policy of barring students that don't get vaccinations. So I think it's important that we have a good national public perception, and that people around the country look at our communities and wonder why their states and their communities aren't doing things like this, and that we set an example and we incentivize people to look at us and see how great the community is here in our state.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, we're very excited to be in Fargo today, and we're very pleased that the City of Fargo acted as our host and helped bring together students from Fargo Public Schools, community leaders, association leaders, some of the largest employers, NDSU, and folks that are just care about the future of the city. It was exciting. Recently, Fargo was named the fastest growing community in the Midwest and the Northeast in the country. That's very exciting news, and that is credit to everybody in the state, the elected leaders, the private sector, the youth. Everybody gets to be part of that because it's a team effort when we see an economy growing. The Main Street Initiative in North Dakota is focused on three things. We're focused on workforce and the big workforce challenges we have. We're focused on building healthy, vibrant communities that help us attract that workforce, and we're focused on being smart about our infrastructure, so when we spend tax dollars, we can do it in a way to help keep property taxes down, which then again helps us attract the workers and helps keep the community vibrant. Fargo has been doing great work on a number of fronts relative to that, and we're pleased today that officially the city of Fargo is going to make an announcement relative to leaning in on the Main Street Initiative.
So we were very excited when the governor came up with the Main Street Initiative because we thought he was describing Fargo. So therefore, we are going to talk about the proclamation. Whereas the city of Fargo has made a commitment to developing a healthy, vibrant community through fiscally responsible planning and attracting the talent needed to support our growing economy. And whereas this development has included actively working to differentiate and enhance the quality of life for residents through the new and planned civic spaces and projects to enhance walkability. And whereas innovative partnerships and planning have led to more efficient development and infrastructure through new and planned mixed-use development and infill. And whereas the city of Fargo is committed to increasing the amount of community programming to expand resident and visitor experiences to increase the vibrancy of the city. Therefore, it be resolved that I, T.J. Mahoney, Mayor of the City of Fargo, hereby proclaim Friday, October 5th, 2018, as Main Street, North Dakota Day. This is our celebration of the governor's initiative, the Main Street Initiative, and we're very proud to be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Questions?
Well, I think it's a really fun dynamic that we have here because Fargo and West Fargo are one economic system. They're one, people live in one, work in the other, live in one, shop in the other. It is really one metro area, and if you throw in, Moorhead, West Fargo, Horace, Harwood, it becomes this largest metro area in the region. So it functions as one economic holistic system. But within that, we've got separate school districts, separate park boards, separate city leadership, and that creates an opportunity for local decision-making, more people get engaged in elected office, and it creates some diversity in approaches and thought. And some of that, when you have that, that diversity, it creates some, I think, healthy competition. And some of the things that I heard last week in West Fargo that I thought were very positive, adopting form-based code, really understanding the economics of mixed-use walkable infill projects as a way to make their city more tax efficient. I thought that was fantastic because I thought that is, if West Fargo wakes up and starts applying sound economic principles to how they do development, that'll put a little competitive pressure on Fargo, and that's good between these two great cities to being able to do that. So it's fun that they're both engaging, and I think it's great for the state and great for everybody that lives in Cass County that's here and supports and works and lives in these two great communities.
And one of the challenges we talk about efficiency, that's one of the pillars of this issue, and we're working with water and wastewater for West Fargo. Completely helps our community and makes it grow and be healthy. It also helps us as a metro area to be better competitive, but also that efficiency that you bring forth in doing that. We're very happy they're developing their downtown mixed-use development. That's something that we've done. Roco is a great example of that. And those types of things, I think interaction between the two cities in a competitive manner helps both of us grow in a good way.
And I would also add on that you can't really think about economic development, you can't think about workforce, you can't think about growth, you can't think about quality of life unless you're talking about, some core basic elements, and that's education and healthcare. And on the education front, we are, this metro area, we had the last week we had students from both, Cheyenne and West Fargo high schools. Today we had students from the Fargo Youth Initiative who were attending Fargo North and Davies High School. But we have close to 22,000 K through 12 students here in the Fargo, West Fargo area. We've got over 25,000 college students in the metro area. And so education is, key. Quality education, affordable education, effective education, education that's responding to the rapid changes of the technology, and education to help us make sure that the students have the 21st century skills to be able to help us solve these huge workforce challenges that we have in our state. With over 30,000 jobs available in our state, we have more jobs open than we have graduates, and we have more jobs open than we have people to fill them. So we have to have net in-migration of talent into the state of North Dakota and into Fargo, West Fargo area to be able to fill all those jobs. And education is the key. And again, not just for K-12 and for what we think of as 18 to 22-year-olds. We've got to have an education system that helps people throughout their life continue to maintain that, whether it's through stackable certificates that people achieve, retraining efforts, but important. And so when you take a look at the assets that this community has, the education assets, the healthcare assets, the people assets, there's just an enormously bright future for this area. Incredible. I was like say unlimited promise and potential. It's just about making sure that we get the right leadership in place, meaning like collaborative leadership, getting everybody together, the youth, the elected, the unelected, get everybody together and agreeing on a vision, and let's go make it happen. We heard that from these folks today, which was, I'd say, the summary around the table was, let's go. We've got great ideas, let's go make it happen.
And we're very proud that we have a graduate from West Fargo, Greg Tavine, that joined our staff and is working on Fargo for us. And the young people, you got to meet him because he helps us recruit young entrepreneurs. And we're one of the #1 places in the country for young entrepreneurs because it's high-value jobs with low cost of living. And if we can continue to do that, we'll continue to bring some of you back. I know a couple of you want to go in computer sciences, those types of things. But I think we're a hotbed for that. Look what happened to the governor. So.
Yeah. And we also heard from employers today too that lots of job openings. We know that from the statistics, but we heard from around the table today that there's a lot of positions, a lot of skilled positions that need to be filled. So I think it's just again there needs to be a bit of a rallying cry for all of us to continue to work together to take advantage of the big opportunity that's right in front of us. Okay, thank you guys for being here. Thank you.